Welcome to Light Her Up, your go-to podcast for exploring what it means to align with your passions and create a life filled with freedom, ease, and fulfillment. I'm your host, Natalie Bernacchi, a mom, entrepreneur, and certified coach who left a 15-year corporate career to build a life aligned with my passions and help other women do the same. We'll be diving deep into topics like self-discovery, mindset shifts, and the courage to pursue the life you've always dreamed of. Thank you for being here and for prioritizing yourself. I'm honored to be a part of your journey. If you're ready to find your joy, reclaim your identity, and upgrade your life, you're in the right place. Now let's light it up. Hello, my loves, and welcome to this week's episode of Light Her Up. Today's guest is Michelle Hooey. She's a former corporate leader who spent nearly 2 decades climbing the ladder of success, only to discover that true fulfillment required rewriting every single rule she'd been living by. When Michelle's second daughter, Goldie, was born with a rare and life-threatening condition, everything that she thought she knew about success, leadership, and womanhood was cracked wide open. From that profound shift came her signature method, the Rewrite Method, where she helps women dismantle old narratives and build new ones that are rooted in freedom, wholeness, and deep self-trust. I feel so incredibly lucky to know Michelle personally. We met while we were both becoming certified at Ashley Gordon's Quantum Coaching Academy for life coaching, subconscious reprogramming, and energy healing. And Michelle and her family are such gifts to this world, and I can't wait for you to hear her story. Now, before we dive into today's powerful conversation, I've got something that's going to change the game for you. Our 2 times sold out mastermind are going virtual, and trust me, you're going to want in. If you're a woman on a mission, you're ready to launch, scale, or radically grow your business, you don't have to do it alone. If you're craving deep support, real lasting transformation, and a powerhouse circle of women who are done playing small, this is your next move. No more waiting, no more watering down your vision. This is your moment to fully step into your business and life you know you're meant for. Spots will be limited and they will go fast. So get on the wait list to be the first to know when doors open. The link is waiting for you in the show notes and you won't want to miss it. Hi, Michelle. Welcome to the Light Her Up podcast. I am so excited to have you here today.
I am so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh. I just still can't believe how we met. And I can't believe I've never met you in person. I feel like you're one of my, how do I even put this? Like, it's so strange to me that we've never met because I feel like I know you so well.
Fully. I know. I feel like we're like super close friends and talk every day.
I
One
know.
day we will
One
meet
day.
in real life and have the best hug ever.
One day. And I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna say 2025 is the year. So
Beautiful. We have several months left. 7 months to
yes.
go.
Yes. Amazing. Okay. Well, since the moment that I met you, even before I met you, I've just been so intrigued with your story. And even more than your story, your passion and everything that you put, like your purpose and your passion and your story about you and your family and your beautiful daughters. And I am so excited for you to be here to be able to share that with the audience. So, you talk a lot about how you spent almost 2 decades in your life going from corporate, having the perfect life on paper, quote unquote, perfect life.
Mhm.
And then you had 2 beautiful daughters, one of which, named Goldie, was born with a rare and life-threatening condition, and everything that you knew about success went out the window. So, can you share with the listeners, maybe take us back to before Goldie and Frankie were born, and tell us, what did success look like to you?
Yeah, definitely. Beautiful. Great summary. So I feel like I need to say before Frankie was born because it was pre-pandemic, and I feel like a lot of people have like a big life changes that happened then. She was born in 2019. So I mean, for me, I was traveling the world, working remotely, living my dream life, a digital nomad before that was even a
Mm,
thing, really. And then I met my husband, and like 6 months later, we got married. It was definitely one of those love at first sight stories. And then we followed like a pretty traditional path, which is funny because neither of us are traditional at all. So we got our dog Soda. I think like a year after we got married, and he was our first baby in Vancouver in a little apartment. And then, like a year later, not even, we bought a home in the suburbs and then welcomed Frankie into our home. And then, COVID hit, and I was working in tech at the time for Cisco and in the WebEx area, which, for those who know what WebEx is, it was bigger than Zoom before COVID. So, like the big video conferencing platform, and everything went, all our customers went online. So, it was a really one of the most exciting times in my career, to help teachers connect with students and help doctors connect with patients. And a lot of my purpose was definitely connected to my career. Even after becoming a mom, I feel like it
mhm,
was a huge part and a huge drive for me was my career, working in tech for, at this point now, almost 2 decades, 18 years. And um, yeah, life got turned a bit sideways. It was really isolating becoming a mom, during COVID for the first time,
mhm,
and living in the suburbs with not a lot of friends, and working from home, of course. And then I had 5 pregnancy losses,
mm,
essentially. So I think that's like when things started to shift for me, because
mhm,
that purpose started to shift a little. Like I realized that there was more to life than maybe this big corporate job. There was a lot of pain and heartbreak with these pregnancy
mhm,
losses and a lot of grief.
mhm,
And there was never any reason for them, which was also challenging. And I think that's kind of when I started connecting more to my spiritual side,
mhm,
and kind of seeking for answers outside of me. Like, we knew there was no medical reason this was happening, and finding that purpose within that. And then, yeah, Goldie was born and everything changed again. So yeah, I think before becoming a parent, it was very much career driven, and even after Frankie was born, and then things started to shift
yeah,
through those losses, and just the relationship with my husband. um, we connected deeper, as you do, through grief, and
mhm,
started to really, question what really matters most. Because I knew that my job was very high stress, and stress is often linked.
mhm,
And so trying to just align myself with what I wanted to do next in life.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what I hear from when you share that experience and that story is that when you had Frankie, it gave you that sense, that realization, that sense of purpose, like, wow, there is so much more to life than just work and career and being stressed out. I have this human that I'm taking care of and I love her so much. And then going through that grief and that loss following Frankie's birth as well, reconnecting you with your husband, making it a little bit deeper, which is something that is so also incredible, because I feel like a lot of times when couples have a baby, a lot of times the marriage dynamic changes and it actually makes couples disconnect.
Hmm.
So the fact that you were able to come together and support each other during that time it's so inspiring. And then you mentioned finally having Goldie, and that was a really pivotal moment in your life. So, can you explain a little bit about what that pivotal moment was like? How did that crack you open, and how did that change your perspective?
Definitely, definitely. So I was having a normal pregnancy with Goldie, and I was frequently doing checkups because of the previous pregnancy losses. And I was obviously quite nervous, which I think most women are. I think through pregnancy, especially if you're a little bit older. I was 39 when I was pregnant with Goldie, and or 38, 39, and also just with the history. But I knew, like in my guts, that she would be fine. Like I just always knew it. And then at 33 weeks, when she stopped being active, my like intuition was like, we have to go. And my manager, I was still working at the time. It was actually my last day of work. They were throwing a baby shower. I was like, I don't know if I can make it. I think I need to like go to the hospital. And my husband and my mother-in-law were both like, it's probably fine. Like, I know you had this concern with Frankie because that's also how Frankie was born. She stopped being active
Oh,
at
wow.
34 and a half weeks and came early. So again, trusting my intuition. And actually, I said this to my husband yesterday, Jeff. I was like, I feel like I saved both of our daughters, which I've never, I'm going to cry, um, given myself that credit.
Mm-hmm.
But both times with them, a lot of people, like you call your midwife and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, like track the things, but like it's probably fine. And then it wasn't both
Right.
times.
Wow.
And so trusting that intuition, I think as a mother, always trust your intuition. And so I went in and then she came like 90 minutes after we walked in the door through emergency
Wow.
C-section. Yeah. At 33
Oh
weeks. So
my
she was
God.
really little and she was okay, just a preemie. And then pretty quickly after, like within 24 hours, things shifted pretty quickly to like her needing preemie support, to her having seizures and MRIs, and them kind of saying, we don't know, like if she's going to make it, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So that was obviously very hard.
Yeah.
And it was a really long road. It was 6 months in the NICU. They transferred us from one hospital to BC Children's Hospital, which is one of the best children's hospitals in the world. And they have all the specialists to help. Like she has a neurologist and a respirologist and like all these different teams, genetics team, trying to figure out what was going on and how we could support her and how to get us out. That was the big goal. It was like
Yeah.
we would see in the NICU like 100-day signs, and I was like, I
Mhm.
never want one of those signs. Like I
Right.
never wanted to be there for 100 days,
Yeah.
and we were there much longer than 100 days, and have been back about 7 times since with emergency situations. But I think how that cracked me open was faith. Like you have a choice in those moments to completely just fall apart, which
Mhm.
we definitely had moments when we did. But I feel incredibly lucky to have a supportive system and a community that's cheering Goldie on, but also my husband is really strong. And we took turns kind of falling apart and holding each other up. But luckily, through all of this, the last 2 years since she's been born, we take turns, which is
Yeah.
like a silent trade off of when we need to fall apart and put each other back again, which I
Mhm.
think is a real blessing. But I think we just needed faith and hope. And that's when I really went all in spirituality, and I started reading about manifestation, and I started like every book I could. And then I was like, they were like, you can't manifest for other people, because I just like wanted to manifest her healthy.
Right.
And I still struggle with that two
Yeah.
years later, but
Yeah.
now I'm really focusing on manifesting the right doctors, the right connections, the right experts to help
Mhm.
find treatments and healing modalities for her, which has happened. But I think that was it. And again, when you think about purpose, this corporate job didn't matter at all anymore. That
Yeah.
all that matters was time with our kids, and like particularly time with Goldie, because again, her future is still pretty uncertain. And at that time, it was like every moment really counted,
Yeah.
and that really puts perspective. Like little fights with your partner, or the things that like you worry about, the price of gas, or like
Right. Yeah.
waiting in traffic, or whatever it would be. um it didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, the biggest thing. And then finding ways to fill my own cup, right?
Mhm.
So I got into a journaling practice like in the hospital. I started running 5 weeks postpartum, which I don't recommend. It's not like cleared post emergency C-section. I started
Yeah.
walking, and then I started
Yeah.
like, I had a lot of trauma in my
Yeah.
body, and I was really connecting into my body and realizing how much I was holding on to, trouble sleeping
Mhm.
in a hospital and all of those things. And I got really into running, and it really helped me process a lot of my grief.
Yeah.
And within that, for those first few months, I think Goldie was born in March, and me and my husband did a 10K in June, and then I did a half marathon in the fall. So I just channeled a lot of that. And it was like that time away from the hospital, 30 minutes to just like get out of the hospital room and get fresh air and go for a run,
Mhm.
um, I think really saved me. I think that
Yeah.
was like a huge, oh, there's a fly, a huge thing for me, was focusing on the self-care to have that to support my family and be there for Goldie and have those hard conversations in the hospital, which there were many.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, releasing that energy that's stuck through movement is huge. And I love that you mentioned you and your husband giving each other the space to break down and accepting the breakdowns,
Mm-hmm.
because breakdowns are part of being a human. And, when you don't have the support to be able to break down and to have someone help you get back up, and then also to release that energy by doing whatever it is that works for you. So going on those runs and whatnot, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the faith, you mentioned the faith. I don't think you ever lost faith once. And I think that is so incredible. And especially for your daughters to look at you as their, role model and mentor in life. Like they probably, Frankie and Goldie look at you and probably think, wow, our mom is such an amazing woman, an incredible advocate. You advocate for your daughters like no one else I've ever met before. And it's so inspiring. It honestly makes me a better mother watching you. So I just want to like share how grateful I am that you are so open with sharing your story, because it does make other people better people too. So thank you.
Thank you for saying that. And I'm like
Yeah.
crying for those who are just listening on audio because one, that's beautiful, but two, I feel called to share something that's going to make me cry more, but I'm going to share it anyways.
Yeah.
That I did always have faith, but
Hmm.
and should I say, and there were really hard days, and Goldie was in a lot of pain
Yeah.
when she was really little. And at one point, I told her spirit it was okay to go.
Hmm.
And that was like a really hard thing to say, obviously, as a mother
Yeah.
or as a parent. You never want to say it's okay. You can
Hmm.
go. But it was really hard to watch her in so much pain. And it's still like is very emotional thinking about
Yeah.
that moment. But she stayed, and
Yeah.
she really wanted to be here. She fought every day to be here, and she still does. And she's not in that pain anymore,
Yeah.
which I'm so happy to share. She's thriving, still, undiagnosed. It has an incredibly rare, maybe the only one in the planet with her genetic disorder.
Hmm.
But I did always have faith, but that faith at some point was that she may need to go and
Yeah.
to like find peace in that, which is really hard. But
So hard.
she didn't
Yeah.
go. She said, "No, mama, I want to stay. Even if
Yeah.
this body is, painful and hard to be in." And she's still here today, and now she's rolling around, we say partying. She's a little
Yeah.
party girl. And doing so good. And I just think back to that. I think she was about 6 months old when I had talked to her spirit about that. And it was still faith. It was just a different kind of faith. And
Hmm.
I really hope I never have to have that
Yeah.
conversation again. But so far, she's just like doing regular toddler things like teething and having tough days in that way, not in the way she was when she was little.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so hard. I can't even imagine. And I think Goldie is one of the most resilient,
She is.
strongest human being. I've never met her yet, but that I've known of. I mean, she is like your greatest teacher in life. She's incredible and she's here for a reason. I call her an earth angel because she truly is. And when you had to say that to her, I also think she probably knew that you weren't saying it to her because you didn't want her here. You were saying it to her because you're her mom and you don't want her in pain. It wasn't coming from a place of anything other than you just wanted your daughter to be okay. And I think that she recognizes that and knows that. So,
Definitely. I love that earth angel. I'm going to use that
yeah,
from
she
now
truly
on because
is.
she is. She
She is.
She has moved mountains. I actually met someone the other day who was like, "Are you Goldie's mom?" I'm like, "Oh my
Oh,
gosh, you're yeah." Like she's a full on celebrity
I
with
love her.
yeah, inspiring inspiring millions.
Oh my gosh. So, okay, what would you say are the biggest myths or narratives around leadership, womanhood, motherhood that at that moment in time when you were going through this transition, you realized no longer served you?
Hmm.
So, and I know you're going through a rewrite as we speak right now. And do you remember when you were going through that transition, letting go of some of the things that no longer served you?
That's a big one. Yes, I let go of a shit ton.
Mhm.
Uh, I got really clear on. I mean, I think hmm, myths would be something like pushing through. I don't know. There's something about
Mm.
surrendering
Mhm.
over like that pressure,
Yep.
and I think that that was a huge one for me. And
Mhm.
a big thing for me I'm incredibly impatient, and I'm also someone who's worked in the corporate world.
Mhm.
Like I was trying to project manage like the hospital scenario, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And like releasing control. I mean, I guess that's a huge thing I had to let go of, because there was like no timeline.
Right.
Goldie was the boss. And I think that that more so from a motherhood lens is like a big thing, especially if you're coming from a corporate environment or you're an entrepreneur, that the kids like they decide when they're ready to do things, when they're ready to
Right.
walk, when they're ready to leave the hospital, that you can't like put a timeline on a little human.
Yep.
You can't put a deadline on a little human.
So true.
And you also can't put pressure on them. Like
Right.
pressure is not a productive thing for children,
Right.
but I've also learned pressure is not a productive thing for myself. And that's been a huge part of the rewrite, actually,
Yeah.
is like letting go of urgency and pressure.
Yeah.
And I think a huge homecoming for me was I've been living in urgency. I think I've in the corporate environment that's constant, but since Goldie's been born, everything is urgent. Like every treatment, every appointment, like everything's important and urgent. And that is so much pressure. And it's
So
so
much
much pressure as a parent to put on yourself as well. And that's a huge part of what I'm rewriting. And I think that's a huge myth is like pressure isn't productive.
Yeah.
Urgency isn't productive. Like you need rest, you need space, and yeah, whatever the opposite of urgency is like
Yeah.
the life spaciousness is like what I'm trying to embody and ease, because I don't think people know, and particularly women know how much pressure you are putting on yourself. It's not always an outside in job. I
Mhm.
think like out of the women I've coached and people I've worked with, it's like 90% the pressure you're putting on yourself. So what does it look like to let that go? Like that
Yeah.
burden on your shoulders. And so I think that's the biggest, I don't know if it's a myth, but like the biggest realization for me was like the pressure and urgency, just like it has to go. What does
Yeah.
life look like without it? It's not
Yeah.
necessary.
It's like releasing that pressure valve, and you're like,
Yes.
ah. And I've seen you've been talking a lot about like, just take the damn nap,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I
That's my
love.
current platform. Take
I
the
love
damn
it.
nap.
Because it's true. How can we operate and be our best selves for our children and support them, or be our best selves at work or be our best selves for even our own selves or our spouses and friends if we are not rested? If we're operating like redlining through life at this high stress
Hmm.
constantly, it's not good for us. So that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to nap lately, and it's been
Yeah.
really nice because usually you're like, your kid's sleeping. What can I get done? Right.
Totally.
But what would it look like? I had a nap with Goldie, and it was so amazing because we never, like, she has a lot of equipment, and it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty rare that you would actually like take a nap with a kid as complex as Goldie. And I've done it a handful of times. And I did it the other day, and I was like, this is the best, like sleeping with my baby.
And she probably loves it.
Yeah, she slept longer than
Oh,
usual. I felt recharged. I felt closer and more connected to
yeah.
her. And like the dishes could easily wait, or
Yeah.
whatever the things are you're trying to rush through.
Yep.
And it filled my cup, it filled her cup. And I'm just going to try to make it a regular thing now. I'm like, okay, so now I nap with Goldie. Great. Love it.
Uh,
My new priority in life.
that sounds amazing.
Hmm.
Okay, so I've also heard you say that women are not broken, that they're living inside systems that are just not designed for their joy or their health. So I heard you talk about a few of the systems here already on the podcast, but can you give a few examples of how these systems show up in everyday life?
Definitely. I mean, have you heard of the book Fair Play or read the book Fair Play?
I've heard of it. I have not read it.
Okay. It's Eva Rodsky, I think. She has another book called Find Your Unicorn Space, which I
Oh,
highly
yes. Yeah.
recommend.
Love that
It's
book.
okay, you did. Okay, so her book before that was called, yeah, Fair Play. And I think that is a huge part of the systems. It's like I mean, we always joke, like the CEO of the household system,
Hmm.
right? And we always joke that Goldie also needs a CEO because there's medical equipment, there's nursing schedules, there's appointments, there's so many other things. But I think those systems are the
Yeah.
systems that are broken. And I have an amazing partner, and we're very 50-50, but the to-do lists are never ending, right? And so when you prioritize all the to-dos instead of my new thing is also to be, how do you want to
Mhm.
be? And then so I create a to be list
Love
while
that.
you're doing things, right? Like I want to be present while I'm playing with my kids. Like put playing with your kids on the to-do list, put the run on the to-do list, like
Yeah.
whatever it is, because I think that is what is happening from a systematic perspective, especially if you're a mom, especially if you have kids in school, because I
Yeah.
feel like there's a whole different schedule, or
Totally.
sports or anything else. Like I saw your daughter at a competition this weekend, I think, right? Like
Yes.
I have a friend
Yeah.
whose whole weekend is just sports with her kids every
Yeah.
single weekend.
Yeah.
And so that system, great, support your kids. And also find time for you, because
Totally.
that's where you hit the burnout, right? When you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I really wanted to go to that yoga class, or I really wanted to get a pedicure, or like take a nap or read my
Yeah.
book, and
Yeah.
making that time. So I think it really is flipping on the head this idea that you can't schedule in the self care, or you can't schedule in your unicorn space, which for those
Mhm.
who don't know that book, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
It like checks all these boxes where it's like, it's not self care, it's not
Yep.
maintenance, it's not this. It's literally something that brings you joy and fills your cup and helps service the world.
Yes.
And it's not your job. So you
No.
can take coaching off of that either too, which in theory could almost, so that creative space, right? So
Yeah.
I think that those are how the systems, and it's not like, it's just how we've been, like when I think about my mother and my mother's mother, it's just how
Mhm.
it's been passed on generationally. And you really have to advocate for yourself, and it's usually not with anyone else. Again, it's the same thing as that pressure and the urgency. It's
Yeah.
you allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to find the space. And if you're with a partner or in a situation where it's them, then it's time to
Mhm.
probably have a talk. Like, let's be
Yeah.
real.
Absolutely.
To say I'm taking this time and like get both read Fair Play and find a
Mhm.
middle ground. But like I'm really lucky that my husband is super supportive, and I just need to say, hey, I went to a run club on Saturday and it was so fun, and I met new people in my community. But I was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
gone for 2 hours Saturday morning. And he was like, great. But I had to like put it in my calendar, let him know, and like go do the thing. So I
Yeah.
think that's a huge part of the system. It's more just like a generational reframe of giving yourself the time you need to
Yeah.
fill your cup.
I love that so much. And it's so funny too, because I'm one of those people that I love my unicorn space and I love my self care and I love just truly sitting in quiet. Like I wake up every single morning at least an hour before the family wakes up so that I can sit there like with my coffee
Mm-hmm.
and just enjoy it in peace and quiet before the chaos ensues. And also when I'm like scheduling in my things to do, like if it's to go do something that's like a social activity to meet new people, I get like really excited about it and I'll schedule it in. I'm so excited. And then the day comes and I'm like, oh, I don't want to do
Mm.
this right now. Like, I don't know what it is. This like fear or this anticipation pops up. And the days that I still push myself to go, I'm always so happy I did. Like once
Mhm.
I'm there, it's like, oh, this feels so good. Now I remember why I signed up for this thing. Now I remember why I wanted to be here. It's just the whole like process of getting into it. And maybe that's a system that I've been trained into like, nope, I've got to cross all these things on my to-do list off and they're not crossed off. So I can't go because if I go, I'm going to be thinking about those things. Um, so yeah, maybe that's just a system that I've become
Mhm.
accustomed to and trained, and I have to kind of unlearn that.
Yeah, I love
So
that. I think that everyone has those and you don't realize like when Frankie, was a baby, I had a hard time getting a 20-minute workout in. Like I felt
yeah,
guilty.
yeah,
And now it's like a non-negotiable, right?
yep,
And I was working with another client who I forget what she was having a really hard time finding time to do, but it was something that lit her up. And she had no issue finding time to run every day. And I was
yeah,
like, you just need to like also make time for this other thing. And sometimes
mhm,
I have this freedom planner. It's a freebie. I can link it in here. And it's like 15 minutes a day. Like you just start with that.
yeah,
And maybe you're writing a book and you're having a really hard time finding time and you just need
yeah,
to like get it in there. And it is a new system. Like I'll tell you also, there's still guilt I work through on a right. Like
mhm,
today, our nurse called in sick. We had a really rough drop off. And I could have messaged you and said, "Hey, Natalie, it's not a good day." But I was so
mhm.
excited about this, and I knew Jeff would be fine,
Yeah,
and I knew my mother-in-law was going to be here at some point, and I was like, "I'm doing it." And it's like, and he was supportive, of course, but it's like standing your ground to yourself, almost like
mhm,
your former self. Like I'm stepping into future me, and
yes,
this is what she would do. She would declare this time. She would go to the event. She would do the podcast, even though the morning was rough, like, and do it anyways, even if
yep,
you have some little guilt or fear or uncertainty about it.
mhm,
And then you do it and then you keep doing it. Right. And
mhm,
that's the thing that's pretty magic about this. It's the same thing as like now I can't imagine not finding 20 minutes to work out every day.
yeah,
But like 5 years ago, it was hard to do it a couple times a week.
yeah,
And you just keep doing it. And it's all about the persistency. And then it's a no brainer to go to those events. You're like, I'm going to them every week now. And it's
yeah,
great. And it's my favorite part of the week. But you just have to like get over
yep,
whatever that subconscious rewiring is around it.
yeah. So interesting.
Our brains.
I
And
know,
it's
I
usually
know,
all us. That's the crazy. It's all
I know.
mindset.
It's
And the
all us.
more we get deep in coaching, you're like, yeah, it's literally everything
It's
is
all us.
mindset. It's
I know,
wild.
it's wild. Okay, so what are some signs or feelings that tell a woman that she's operating from outdated rules, outdated systems? I know you kind of briefly touched on it here with like the unicorn space and finding time for yourself, but are there any other signs that a woman might, if she's doing them, could think to herself, wow, maybe I am operating from an outdated system or outdated rules?
Time for an upgrade. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I think there's something really obvious, I'm going to say, but it's like, how do you wake up every morning? Like, check in on yourself. Are you excited about the day ahead? Are you dreading it? Do you look at your calendar and go like, who's even in control of this thing?
Mhm.
Right? So I think that's the first step is like when you wake up in the morning, how are you feeling? How is your body feeling? And then when you go to bed at night, how do you feel about the day?
Mhm.
Right? Did you get time for yourself? Did you get time with your family, with your friends, whatever it is that fills your cup? And I think if you are feeling resentful towards people around you, towards your schedule, towards your job, like those are big signs. If you're
Mhm.
feeling short, like it's
Yeah,
also signs of burnout, right?
totally.
Irritable, angry,
Mhm.
fatigued, like hard to get out of bed.
Yep.
Um, I think those are all signs. And
Yeah.
I think for me, I have days that are full of things I don't want to do,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Yeah,
Like
we
these
all have it.
Goldie, yeah, these Goldie appointments, going to the hospital, doing these things. And I try to balance them out. And this is what I also recommend clients to do. And also, actually, in the Freedom Planner, I'll link it here because it's a freebie.
Yes.
Um, it's doing a bit of an energy audit. So, looking at your day and looking at things that drain you and things that fill your cup. And if you
Mhm.
have those days, like I have those days where I have like a bunch of appointments for Goldie, and I know it's going to be kind of a bit of a shit day, what
Mhm.
can I do at the end of the day? Are we going to order takeout? Are we going to have a movie night? Am I going to have a bubble bath? Am I going to get up extra early and go for a run or get a meditation in? So, counterbalancing
Mhm.
any of those energy leaking sort of activities with some things that fill your cup. And I think that that is something that could really help if you have an outdated system. And it would get pretty obvious if you started writing down your day and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, everything is
Yeah.
an energy leak, that your system is outdated and in time for an upgrade. And what I would recommend doing is start thinking about things that fill your cup and think really little, like getting up early for the cup of coffee,
Yes.
going for a walk around the block, and
Mhm.
just even make a running list. I have a few clients that I just like, it's called like tiny joys. And
Oh,
you
I
just keep
love
it in your
that.
phone, the things that
Yeah.
like fill your cup. So if you're feeling a little like having a rough morning or whatever it is, be like, oh, I can like go window shop for 10 minutes. That always
Yeah.
makes me happy. And
Yeah.
so just having that in your phone or somewhere really easy to reference will help counterbalance. I think I went a little farther on your question about
No,
operating
that's so
systems, but those are
great.
some tips that could also really help if you find that there's like energy leaks in your day.
Yeah, no, that's really, really, really profound and so simple. Like, I don't think it's so interesting because now I actually do, as you were mentioning, talking about like an energy check in
Hmm.
or an energy scan. I used to never do that. I feel like I was just operating in the world of like being completely unaware of how I was feeling, how I was operating. And then a few years ago, as I was going through my sort of spiritual awakening and this awareness of like, oh my gosh, I'm just operating in autopilot, like the way the world is telling me to, the way society is,
Hmm.
the way my boss tells me, all the things, I started becoming more aware. So I would do these audits, I guess. I never called it an audit, but how am I feeling today? Things just feel sort of out of alignment. And why are they feeling out of alignment? Like, started to ask the questions. And I will say, one thing that you're really good at, just from knowing you, is you do, when you're out of alignment, you won't stay out of alignment for a long time. Because it's natural. We're human beings. We're going to get out of alignment. Things are
Hmm.
going to become unbalanced in our day to day. And you're always really good at like catching it and being like, okay, what do I have to do to like reshift that? And you'll get like right back in alignment. And so you won't let that go for too long, which I
Hmm.
think is huge. Knowing like, okay, I'm out of alignment, but I'm going to work on it and we're going to shift things back. And I love the idea of the tiny joys. It's something anyone can implement into their life
Hmm.
like right now. That's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for saying that. Yeah. I think once you're in alignment and you feel really good, as soon as you
Yeah.
don't, you're like, I want to get back there. And I think that's the
Totally.
other thing about spiritual like awakening. Like once you're there,
Yeah.
whenever you drift, because that's life, right? It's
Yeah.
it's it's a practice. Like life
Yeah.
is a practice, right? And we have good
Mhm.
days and we have bad days and we have different energies to work through, and just like knowing, having that like toolkit in your back pocket to like
Yes.
get you back is important. And protecting your energy too when there's other, like we have a lot of energy in our
Yeah.
house because we have nurses, because we have family supporting us, we have a really
Mhm.
busy household, and everyone comes in with their energy their night before, that what they have to do later. And so like being able to protect your energy is
Yeah.
also really helpful. As an empath, I like used to just, and I still sometimes catch myself like
Yeah.
absorbing other people's
Yeah.
energy. And so having like a good grounded energy helps you also from absorb, especially if you have kids,
Oh
because
my
they have all
gosh.
sorts of energy and their energy like pulls on your heartstrings, right?
It really does.
So
Or triggers some heartstrings.
yeah, oh yeah, like immediate. She's
Yes.
like a little me. My Frankie is like a little me too. I know your daughter is like a little you too.
Yeah,
So it's like my husband yesterday was like, girls, like, do you both
exactly.
need a timeout? Like, and I'm like, she's like turning me into a 5-year-old somehow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll do
But
that to
again,
you.
practice, right? It's all practice.
Practice. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I know that you're in your own rewrite right now as we speak. So I
Hmm.
want you to share with the audience all about your rewrite method. And would you be willing to take us behind the scenes about what you're personally unlearning or reimagining at this moment?
Yes, I love it. This is like, I'm obsessed with talking about the rewrite. So I I'm currently on a leave from my corporate job, and I have 12 weeks off to figure out what I want to do next right now. And, I'm leaning towards going all in on coaching. I'm coaching on the side. I'm working part time in corporate, and really focusing on doing some advocacy work for Goldie and kids with rare genetic disorders. So, in all of that, even saying that out loud is like wild, because I couldn't have said this 3 weeks out loud. But essentially, I have this space to really figure out what I want my life to look like, how I want to redesign my life. Because since Goldie was born, we've just, again, been keeping our head above water. I've become a certified quantum coach, which has been
Mhm.
incredible, done a lot of spiritual work. But our day to day has just been like, how do we, pay the mortgage and feed the kids and
Right.
keep Goldie alive, essentially, keep Frankie
Yeah.
happy. And um, we know we have a marathon with Goldie, knowing she's not going anywhere, and we
Mhm.
have, to figure out what our life is going to look like. And I've never
Mhm.
given myself the space, and I don't think most people do, to be like, what do I want my life to look like? Somehow we just end up in our lives on autopilot. So
Absolutely.
the concept of the rewrite is really intentionally writing the life that you want, and it could be identity related. So right now, you can join at any time. There's a free 12-week program. But even though we're on week 3, you just start at week 1, and you get weekly emails added to a Telegram space. But essentially, you're working with me as I'm going through the rewrite and rewriting whatever it is you're working on. So it could be an identity, like
Mhm.
I became a mother, I was corporate, I'm not. And I think identity rewriting is a huge thing. I've gone through so many identity rewrites, and I think right now that's a huge part of my rewrite. It
Mhm.
feels like the final shedding of the skin. And I think it's the year of the snake, which I found interesting, because I've
I
been
think it is.
using that metaphor and then realized I
Yeah.
was like, oh, like I feel like I'm finally shedding the skin of this corporate person, the person I was kind of before Goldie was born. The last parts
Mhm.
of it is going away, and it's hard and painful, and there's grief in it, but there's so much potential in it. So that's the rewrite I'm going through, and then intentionally designing our life, knowing we have a marathon ahead with Goldie. How do we
Mhm.
sustain a Goldie CEO system, a family
Right.
system, my husband running a business, myself running a business, and still find time for joy and happiness and all of the things. So
Yeah.
the rewrite program is just for anyone who's looking to take some time and intentionally design their life. And there's a bunch of different steps in it, from the wheel of life
Yeah.
to just intentionally looking at your days, those energy audits,
Mhm.
and really like breaking down every week has a different theme to
Mhm.
get to a point at the end. You have rewritten the life that you once had, and there's nothing wrong with the life you're having,
Right. Yeah.
but we're not always intentionally designing our life. And I
Yep.
think that is the thing. You just end up in life. And you might
Yep.
intentionally choose a new career or a new home, new partner, but there's never like a full intentional look at your calendar, at your days, at your life, at your identity, and feeling like really at home in it and centered
Yeah.
in it. So that's what the process is. I don't remember what the question even was now. I'm just
No,
so
you
excited. Oh,
answered
so the
it
method is
perfectly.
really that. It's like identity, it's life, it's you, it's all of the things.
Mhm.
And it's really going through, and part of it is grieving, cracking open,
Yes.
letting go, releasing old identities, and going
Mhm.
through that deep inner work. And then doing visioning work, and then simple steps to actually get you there. Because as we know, we talk about it's 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
It's continuing to choose you again and again and again, and choose that future
Mhm.
life, that rewrite until you're there.
I love that. And it sounds like such a supportive, and obviously it is because I've worked with you before and I know what an incredible coach you are and how you're able to just hold space for people. And it's so powerful when you find a coach that can truly hold space. And you're one of those coaches that
Thank you.
does it incredibly. But to also be so vulnerable to allow others in to rewrite your stories together, that's huge and so supportive. And you're right, I think so many of us just end up in life instead of proactively taking charge of it. So, like when I was going through my spiritual awakening, they're not fun. Usually they're not fun because you're like,
Hmm.
wait, what is happening? And for people who don't like, I can look back now and say I'm grateful for that. I'm so glad that something like shook me to my core and made me wake up and say, why am I acting on autopilot? And I would never want someone to go through that if they don't have to.
Hmm.
So being able to join a program, even a free one, like yours, the rewrite method, where it's taking this proactive step towards rewriting your life intentionally instead of having like something in life just come knocking on your door and shake you
Hmm.
to change, I think is so special. So we'll definitely put the link to all of that in the show notes so that the listeners
Awesome.
can join that and have that opportunity.
Awesome.
Um,
Thank you for sharing. I was going to say there's like this thing where there's like I forget what was listening to another podcast and someone was saying there's like a nudge, a push, and like a rhino, but there's like things like coming from the universe that's like asking you, like saying, hey, you're ready for this change, right? And
yeah.
it starts off subtle and then it gets to
Yes.
like the rhino, right? Like you were saying, shook you to the core. And it is terrifying. And
Yeah.
it's like always a quantum crumble before the quantum leap,
Mhm.
but it is hard to go through it alone.
Yeah.
And the identity change is there's a lot of grief in that, especially if you're leaving a job or
Yes.
lost someone or, any moving,
Yeah.
like anything, like these big decisions. And
Huge.
sometimes they can just be small decisions that are intentional, but they still can rock you, right? So I
Yeah.
think having the support, and I know that like a business coach would say, like, you probably shouldn't show that behind the scenes, like that level of
Yeah.
vulnerability, but
Yeah.
I'm just doing things the way I feel like should be. And I would appreciate someone else being as transparent as they go through the journey. And it is such an honor to be in the middle of a rewrite and sharing it and
Yeah.
having other people rewriting their lives alongside me. It's a really special space.
That's amazing. And that's what you would have wanted when you were going through that and are going through that. So why
Hmm.
not make that? I think that's incredible. It's something, again, like just because one person says don't do it, that's sort of the system that we're used to. Like, okay, they
Hmm.
said don't do it, so I'm not going to do it. But you are
Exactly.
like taking charge of your life and you're saying, no, I want to do this. This feels good. And this feels good sharing. And so
Hmm.
that's incredible.
Thanks.
So, for women listening who are feeling deep exhaustion or misalignment, what's one small but powerful shift that they can start making today?
One. So many. There's no just one. I mean, I would say the I know I'm just like, here are all the freebies. I do have paid things, but I'm just like, take all my free things. The Freedom Planner is like
Yeah.
a quick little guide that would be really
Okay.
helpful. That has a bunch of different tips that will help you.
Mhm.
Um, but I think the biggest thing for me and what I find helps my clients is that energy audit.
Huge.
So taking a look at your day, writing down what's draining you and what's filling your cup, and seeing like what the list looks like, right?
Okay.
And how to find more things that fill your cup in your day, and
Yeah.
getting a bit ruthless with your calendar, right? And
Mhm.
claiming that, right? Like saying, I'm going to take the 15 minutes. I'm going to take the 5 minutes. I'm going to take
Yeah.
whatever minute I can take. I was coaching someone and it was just like the 2 minute breathing on their watch
Yeah.
twice a day, right?
Yeah.
And it made a difference. Like 4 minutes instead of
Huge.
scrolling on your phone or whatever, right? Like whatever habit that is maybe draining you, being like, can I trade that one for something that might fill my cup? So I
Yeah.
would say start there. It's pretty simple. Even just make the list of tiny joys on your phone. Take
Love
five
that.
minutes to think things that make you happy. And then whenever you're feeling a little drained, go to that list and see what you can do and make them little, right? Like make them like the
Yeah.
cup of really good coffee or the
Yes.
walk around the block or buy yourself flowers or whatever thing it is and just reference that. But I think the
Mhm.
energy is a huge piece, especially when you're feeling, exhausted or
Yeah.
burnt out.
It
Take the
really
damn
is.
nap. Also,
Take the damn nap.
that's the simplest thing you can do. Take the damn nap. You
I love
probably need
it.
one.
Yes, you probably do. It's like those Instagram memes where it's like, I probably just needed a hug, but but it's like,
Yeah, but
no,
it's
just take
no.
the
I
damn
know. I
nap.
should I should redo that.
Yes.
You probably needed a nap.
Yeah, you probably did.
Hmm.
And yeah, one thing I love to do is just go outside for a minute and put my like bare feet in the grass. Just
Hmm.
feel the earth. And the first time I did that, like someone mentioned that they did that and how good they felt. May have been you, honestly. I don't know who it was. But I was like, oh, that sounds like it's not going to shift my day dramatically. And it really does. It's so crazy how just fresh air, bare
Hmm.
feet on the grass, even just for a minute, it can change the energy dynamic of the entire day.
Yeah.
So good.
It's crazy, like how little time you need
Yes,
to
it
just
is.
have that intentional moment can shift everything.
Yes, it does. Okay, so I want to know for our listeners, because you've mentioned a few different freebies, which we're going to link here in the show notes so everyone
Hmm.
can access them. Highly recommend you download them all. Obviously, they are going to offer so much value. So, are there any other upcoming offers, workshops, sneak peeks into what you're
Yes, yes,
doing?
yes, yes. Well, I am doing an event if you live in Vancouver, Canada, on May 22nd. I don't know if this is airing before then, which I'm really excited about.
Mhm.
And then, so I've been really working on that an in-person workshop, Reclaim and Rewild in Langley, BC. But I have my one-on-one offering is really what I'm focusing on right now. So
Amazing.
that's a big one. And then the life audit, which is a really fun piece that you can add on to the rewrite, which is spending an hour with me a week of one-on-one coaching and like a form and a couple different things to get really intentional about that life audit with support from me, which is just another little mini offering. And then be on the lookout for the rewrite method,
Ooh.
which is will be coming out as a more robust offering when I'm done my personal rewrite. So we have some more time from that. And we didn't mention, I know we're at time, but I'm also writing a book.
Yay!
So that's very exciting. It is about all the things I've learned from Goldie, the Earth Angel,
Yes.
as Natalie calls her. And yeah, all the steps to rewrite your life, as told by our sweet little Goldie, the Goldie effect. So more to come on that. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm sharing more and more about that book as we
Yes.
go, but that will be coming out in March 2026.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. And her birthday's in March, right?
Yes, it'll be
Okay.
just before her third birthday. That's the
Oh,
goal. So more to
so
come on that, but I'm very
special.
excited about that.
Oh, so special. Truly, like
Yeah,
she's such a gift to this world. I cannot wait to read the book.
yeah.
Um, I'm so excited that you've decided to write the book because it's just going to impact so many people's lives for the better. And yeah, Goldie's such an earth angel.
Yeah.
And
And
all
she's
of
also a
her
badass. Not
yes,
just an angel.
and a
She's also a
party
badass.
animal.
Yeah. She wears a lot of hats, that girl.
Yes. Yeah. Love her. Very cool. Okay, I'm going to link all of this in the show notes. And where can everyone find you? Where do you hang out? How can
Beautiful.
people work with you? How do they find you to work with you?
Love it. Okay. I am on Instagram predominantly, Michelle with two L's underscore Hooey, Hooey. And then Anchorless Coaching is the name of my business. So that's all linked on there, but it's anchorlesscoaching.com. And that's where we'll link the Freedom Planner and the rewrite and all of that can be found
Perfect.
on that website. Yeah.
Amazing. And I will put it in the show notes too. But
Awesome.
thank you so much, Michelle. I am so happy that you were here on the podcast and that you were able to share your story here. And you just do such incredible work. And you are a gift to this world as well. And I just appreciate you. And I'm so grateful for our friendship. And I just can't wait to meet you in person.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, it was a rough start to the morning. I'm like feeling so inspired and re-energized just chatting with you. So always a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much for having me. And
Yes.
thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Light Her Up. I hope you're feeling inspired and ready to take steps towards a life better than you ever dreamed. I see you, I hear you, and I'm so proud of you for showing up and prioritizing your journey. When you fill up your cup with love, you can pour so much more into the people and passions that matter to you most. If this episode resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you subscribed, left a review, and shared it with someone who could use a little extra light. For more, check out our weekly 5-minute meditations or connect with me on Instagram at The Light Within Collective. I'm sending you my love, and I'll catch you on the next episode.